It's weird that I've yet to do an actual video on Genshin on the channel, considering how much I praise to get my 3-minute quickie on it. Luckily, that changes today. In this video, I'm going to look at every playable character in the game and give my general thoughts on them. However, this is going to be a different video for most of the general thoughts video for one reason. I don't have every Genshin character, far from it. So when I say general thoughts, I mean general thoughts. While I may talk about a character's gameplay for one segment, and another could be talking about their personality or their design, or maybe going on some completely unrelated tangent. Nobody knows what I'm gonna say about these characters, myself included, and it could really be anything. And same deal for footage. I don't have footage of all these characters, so I have to work with what I had. Sometimes I use test runs, sometimes I use random events, sometimes I just use something else, I don't even know. This is gonna be a fun episode. Without further ado, general thoughts on every Genshin Impact character. Traveler. So, due to the way they're designed, Ether and Lumen can work in a variety of different ways. They could be a mediocre Anemo who functions as worse Sucrose, who is already weaker Venti. They could be a mediocre Geo unit who functions as a worse Albedo. Or they could be a mediocre Electro unit who functions as a worse Fischl. One thing is clear, they are not the main DPS, right? Well, if you're a remotely sensible person, then yes. But if you're me, introducing my fantastic and totally not garbage Anemo MC main damage party. It is unfathomably gimmicky, does about nothing for 10 seconds after everyone's used their skills, and is a whole lot of fun. Ether's Palm Vortex thingy has way more range than it reasonably should, and you can make a lot of big numbers appear by using the thing. As Tornado is nearly entirely useless, but boy is it fun. While Traveler may be an average to below average unit, that won't stop me from loving them in all their gimmicky glory. Amber. Amber is simultaneously one of my favorite and least favorite characters. It all depends on how I'm looking at her. On one hand, she is definitely one of my favorite characters. Her optimistic attitude and peppiness always makes her fun to listen to, as a reason she shows up in so many story quests. On the other hand, she is without a doubt the worst unit gameplay-wise, and unlike MC, there's just no fun to be had with her either. Everything she has, someone else just has better. Basically, every other bow unit is a better bow unit than her. Most watery thing is a better Baron buddy, and there are about a bajillion better nuke bursts. On top of that, she's just way too slow to be any fun. Crying shame too, because if she was even slightly better, I'd totally use her, just because how much I like her personality. But in her current state, she is sadly beyond saving. Kaya. This guy shares a name with my friends, so I have to like him, right? Not really. I like his role and personality as the anti-hero, and his relationships with the other monsters are fun, especially D-Luke. For the longest time, this guy was my only cryo character, so I had to pull him out whenever I needed to free selling. And that was about the only time I ever used the guy. Then he got Rosaria and it was just all over for him. He's far from bad, but he's just never interested me too much using gameplay. Also, I have genuinely no idea what his burst to call because I'm just so used to calling it Glaive Lord at this point. I forgot to mention this during my writing of the script, but my Kai is hard carried by his weapon. As you can see, just look at the power of that thing. Ooh, Lisa. I've got a bit of backstory with Lisa. When my friend was streaming his way through the opening of the game as a joke and talking to me about how much he liked it, I was a bit skeptical about trying it for myself. Then he met Camilla with the hat and I started downloading it in the background. So yeah, Lisa's pretty much the reason I got the game, and for a while since then she was main. However, I eventually dropped her, realizing that she actually kinda sucks. I still use Lisa on occasion, and gotta thank her for ultimately getting me into the game. So even if she's not my main anymore, I still do like her a good amount. Barbara. Barbara's just kinda there. She's the healer you get at the start of the game, and she's not terrible at her job. But she gets outclassed as soon as you get pretty much anybody else. Even people who aren't dedicated healers simply do Barbara's job better than her, so she gets sidelined real fast. Also, I kinda hate using her for one good reason. Idle lines. Sometimes I'll just be standing around trying to navigate menus or something, and then Barbara will just burst into some annoying song and throw off my entire train of thought. It's just, yeah. Noelle. Another character I used in my Lisa party who ended up dropping. Much like Barbara, Noelle's a support character you get at the start of the game. This time a shield character, who gets pretty outclassed. But unlike Barbara, Noelle is still pretty good at her job. Her shield is wicked strong, and even if it doesn't do anything crazy like some others, it's reliable enough to be effective. However, there's really not much else to Noelle. Her attacks are weak, and her burst is quite possibly the worst source of healing in the game, requiring you to have her on field and do chip damage to foes to get any health back. Even if her shield is good, it's no wonder I dropped her when switching mains. Zhongling. So Zhongling is easily the best of the free games you get at the start, because she's the only really good one, except for maybe Kaya. And not only that, she's fun. Guoba is a really fun skill, functioning as a flamethrower with weirdly high range and damage, and being a great way to light foes with flame without her being on the field. And her burst is pretty similar. Fire everywhere, effective when she goes off field, and fun. Overall, Gordon Ramsay's a really good and really fun character, who I really don't use in any parties. Jean. Good old Denim is the first character I don't have, but I still do have something to talk about with them. So she has this funny little skill that will launch enemies into the air, which sets them up perfectly for the best kind of kill. Fall damage. I have seen this happen many a time, and it is great every time. Her charge attack does a similar thing, and with those together, Pants seems like the environmental death master, so I really want her. I've also seen some gifs of this happening to other players, and I don't know if that really can happen, but if it can, it is another reason for me to get trousers. D-Luke. I really like D-Luke. He serves as a fantastic foil to Kaya. They have a lot of similarities, both in how they act, both acting like edgy anti-heroes who really do good, and in how they look, being about the same height with a lot of similar characteristics. The difference between the two of them starts with the Knights of Favonius. Kai is a very high-ranking member who thinks Knights can solve essentially any problem they come across, while D-Luke's a 4 member who thinks they're a bunch of worthless layabouts. Any interaction between these two is bound to be good, which is evident in both their story quests. Moving away from Kaya, D-Luke's a solid character on his own. He seems like a pretty ordinary guy at first, but the closer you look at him and his wine empire, the more complex he becomes, and the more secrets he knows. The guy knows a lot more than he lets on, and oh boy, is it interesting. Rosaria. D-Luke serves as a great foil to Kaya, and Rosaria serves as a great foil to Barbara. Both are sisters of the almighty Church of Favonius, but with extremely differing ideals. While Barbara's a goody two-shoes do-gooder for the church who everyone loves, Rosaria just wants her wage. These two interact surprisingly uncommonly, probably because Rosaria hardly ever sticks around the church, but when they do, they've got some interesting chemistry. Not nearly the same kind of frenemy way as D-Luke and Kaya, but as someone who genuinely wants to get close together, and the exact opposite from Rosaria. Also, holy character design, Batman. Apparently they had to nerf Rosaria's breast size because they kept clipping into walls. That doesn't seem like a problem you should need to fix, but alright. Even with the reduction, Rosaria is definitely designed for a certain audience. I guess it could be justified by the fact she's trying to juxtapose Barbara more, but it's definitely just because some of the devs were horny. Venti. I completed the Winnie One story quest, and oh boy, is this guy interesting. Now obviously, I'm not going to go and spoil the entire story quest for you, but by doing a story quest, I realized this guy is crazy fun. He is a god of crowd control, having a skeleton burst to create massive animal vortexes everywhere, and lead to all sorts of numbers. Not to mention the fact that he can create updrafts whenever, wherever, completely breaking exploration. It's a shame they haven't had a Venti rerun in ages, since they totally get it when he comes back. If it weren't for a little complication I'll get to later. Also, I hate Pound's name for him as they do with all of hers, so I've given him the incredibly intelligent, well thought out nickname of Ventilation, or Vent for short. Diona. When I switched parties, Diona took the role of my shield character from Noelle. Well, once he got her, she did. For some reason it took me a crazy long time to get Diona. I had to wait until she was a focus on a banner to get her, but she was definitely worth the wait. Diona's quickly become one of my favorites. She's essentially the ultimate support unit, being both a shieldy and a healer, not to mention being able to freeze enemies on occasion. Her actual shield is great too, with a lightning fast cooldown and having a bunch of projectiles to launch everywhere it's used. Moving away from gameplay, Diana's a great character as well. She thinks of herself as an enemy of D-Luke and the entirety of Mondstadt's wine industry. It's a load of fun to hear her talk about how she wants to overthrow the Empire. I never really understood why they decided to make her Catgirl though. It seems like a really weird decision that doesn't actually add anything aside from the occasional pun, especially since we never see any of their Catgirls anywhere. Some things I'll just never know. Sucrose. Sucrose would probably work about 100 times better than Traveler as my main DPS in my 4th party, but I ain't gonna use him. Sucrose is a generic shy/nervous girl, which I have seen so many times now there's nothing I can add to it. So instead, I'll say that I have this friend who doesn't play Genshin, and anytime he sees Sucrose, he audibly sighs just because of how much he hates his name. And that's funnier than anything I could write about her. Albedo. So there's a lot I could say about Albedo. I could talk about how he offers a totally unique and fun gameplay set with his power of creating ground better than GOMC could dream of, making him synergize perfectly with a bow DPS. I could talk about how he's one of the most complex characters in the game, and through his story quest and the winter event last December, is one of the most intriguing with his backstory and motivations. I could also talk about his great interactions he has with his alchemy Buzz and Klee, since his unique everything makes him engaging in any conversation he's in. All of these things would be great ways to fill the Albedo segment of this video, but instead of doing any of that, I'm going to talk about how funny it is that his name is nearly identical to Alfredo, a very delicious pasta topping sauce. It makes it very difficult to take him seriously when I keep thinking of Italian food anytime someone mentions his name. Difficult, that is. Not impossible. Razor. Razor is the first character got to max level, and there's a good reason for that. Ever since I got the guy within my first week of starting the game, he's been a main DPS for my second party. The guy is absolutely ridiculous when it comes to damage. He's just inherently really powerful, coming with a really strong skill that has a strangely large radius, but he gets absolutely stacked once his burst comes out. His furry ghost will massively buff his damage, attack speed, and interruption res for a couple seconds. If he gets some buffs before he activates it, the guy can destroy anything in mere seconds. Helping this is the fact that the single 5-star weapon I have just happens to be his best possible option. With the combination of everything Razor does well, there's no wonder I like that so much. And thankfully, he was easy to level up. Eula. Eula strikes a very delicate balance of being both annoyingly boring in gameplay and annoyingly annoying in character. As a unit, she is generico the great sword DPS, and has nothing that helps her stand out. She just swings her sword, sometimes swings it a bit icier than normal, and then just yoinks Rosaria's burst. I'll take Razor any day of the week, thanks. And in any conversation ever, she feels like she's intentionally designed to get under your skin. She has this fun gimmick of always wanting to exact vengeance on people for the smallest things, but never following through. I guess it's supposed to be a moment of conclave, you know, something to get you to chuckle. It does not work. There's just absolutely nothing positive I can say about Eula. She's a character who irritates me to my very core. Mona. Anytime I make a party, there's a very, very good chance Mona's gonna find her way in there. The Astrologer was the first 5-star god, and also those recent 5-star god. She's an incredible supporting character to have. Having a distraction tool that constantly applies Hydro is a great way to get a bunch of free reactions off the enemies, and ensures their swift demise. Her burst ain't bad either, making everything take more damage for a couple seconds. Very useful, and the really long activation cutscene can actually dodge attacks sometimes. Niche, sure, but it can go in handy. Mona's a pretty simple character conceptually, one I greatly enjoy, because of how much she works with everybody. I'm also saving her story quest for last, just because of how much I like her in gameplay. Bennett. Ah, good old Xenoblade 2. Whenever making a team match you want to try to do well with, you can bet Benny's gonna be on there. His support capabilities are near unmatched, not only being a stellar healer, but having a crazy good damage buff. And while that's all well and good, by far my favorite part of Ben is his personality and other quirks. The guy is crazy and lucky, but always wants to do his best to help heal anyways, even if he'll get hurt for it. And his hangout event reveals a lot of great stuff about him, as his legendary adventure team. Going back to his moveset, Bennett's skill is still absolutely hilarious to me. When fully charged, he gains the amazing ability of inflicting knockback on himself, which can be used in all sorts of great scenarios, like launch yourself off cliffs, and, launch yourself off floating structures. Definitely one of my favorite characters, though I'll never shake the feeling that he's in the wrong game. Fischl. Now, Fischl's a funny little character because they haven't been featured on banner since June of last year, which is quite a bit of time for a 4-star. And it was just something I really like about Fischl, I just can't put my finger on. Yeah, I'll come back to it. In the meantime, the bannerless one is a fun character just because of how much they can do. They work great as a main and sub DPS, and even a little bit as support depending on how you play them, which is a nice change from the set roles that most characters have. But Fischl isn't just fun on the battlefield, she's a great character too. She's a load of fun to talk to, just because of how unique she is. She talks almost non-stop about her grand role as the Prinzessin de Verurtelum, or however you pronounce it. And her good pal also a nice counter to everything she says, bringing her back to Earth all the time, kind of like a reverse Paimon. Also, this could just be me, but I have genuinely no clue if Fischl's actually from another world or is just making the whole thing up. It sounds so ludicrous, and she has a vision unlike Traveler, who is from another world, but all seems to support her and everyone believes her, so I really don't know what to think. If only there was some sort of event where I could spend more time with the character and learn more about them. But sure, it's a shame nothing that exists. Oh man, I haven't even talked about Fischl's actual personality yet. She's great. She clearly thinks very highly of herself, but seeing it in a way that uses a lot of big words. There's something strangely endearing about the whole thing. Hey, wait a minute. Purple dress, blonde hair, great magic powers, egotistical personality, big vocabulary. Ah ha 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 ho. Alright, Genshin, it was pretty funny the first time, but I must ask you, stop stealing Fire Emblem characters. Klee. You see this? This is my official Klee Primogem stash. I don't care if I have to wait weeks, months, years, I'm going to get Klee. But you'd be asking, well, gee willikers, Mr. Starman, why do you want Klee so much? And if you aren't, I'm about to answer that anyways. Reason 1. Look at her. She's adorable. Who wouldn't want to Klee the very own? Reason 2. Klee's a boatload of fun. I did her story quest, and naturally got to try her out. And her playstyle is perfectly tuned to my liking. Klee's a demolitionist who makes explosions everywhere. It is impossible for an enemy to escape her range, since her attack range is absolutely colossal, just because of how much stuff is exploding everywhere. Plus, she fit like a glove into my current main party, since I've got a Pyro main DPS who functions kinda similarly. Reason 3, their personality is as skewed as their design. If you've done their story quest, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, at some point she calls an Abyss Mage Mr. Fluffball. If that's not convincing enough, I don't know what is. Klee's last reading was in June of last year, and with the most recent upcoming banner, her and Venti are the 5 stars who haven't been on a banner in the longest time. And with the new 2-banner system god, all we need is one new monster thing, and my premium gem hoarding can finally pay off. And it will be fantastic. Ganyu. So apparently Ganyu is a really good unit. I haven't done a story quest yet, so I wouldn't know for myself, but based on the move descriptions, she seems like the better Amber I've been searching for. Both character with a distraction skill and a constant onslaught attack burst. What's not to love? Well, I'll tell you what's not to love. While it should have been obvious from their elements, Amber and Ganyu are polar opposites. And while Ganyu may carry the viability, Amber is a far better character than Ganyu. Ganyu's just so incredibly nothing. She has a pretty big role in the main quest, yet I can't remember a single thing about her, aside from maybe being shy. Maybe I'll come to like her when I get around to doing her story quest, but as it sounds, I ain't too interested in getting her. Also, I wrote the script, and then I did her story quest, and now I'm recording this, so I have actually done her story quest now, so you can say what I think of that. And, she's there alright. Yeah, she's a character. If you want to just play as an Adeptus who's good, as like an actually good character, just go with Zhao. Skip Ganyu, she's so boring. Genshin. So Kachao is a character I have but never use. And honestly, I couldn't tell you why. She's a fun little main DPS who can teleport around the place like it's nobody's business, and I get buffed from it. This is Cash Register's defining move, and boy is it a good one. Not only does it enhance their combat potential, letting her slip in and out of situations you really shouldn't be able to. Outside of combat, it's stellar. Having the ability to warp in any direction, especially straight up, is crazy useful for fighting goodies. And her burst, while kind of remarkable, isn't terrible. Big AoE, big damage, cool visuals, it's nothing to scoff at. Seriously, why do you not use this character? Sure, she's super gimmicky and not too viable, but when has it ever stopped me? If anything encourages me more, I really ought to use Kachiga more, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Ningguang. Holy bejeez, dude, I'm far from the biggest fan of Ningguang, and the game clearly knows it. So naturally, it's that she should be the character that I get 6 times. I don't even use the character, ever, but the game is trying to Stockholm Syndrome me into liking them. Well, I'll tell you what, game, it won't work, it's just annoying me more. It can't be 4 stars to actually use. Zhao. Zhao is so incredibly over the top with his edginess that it's absolutely impossible to take him seriously. He's supposed to be this adept dude who's a social recluse selling and only ever comes out when he's really needed. But oh man, when he does come out, prepare for a laugh. One of my friends got Zhao on a banner he was just on, and I think his voice lines just speak for themselves.
I'm far from human. I can't make much of human emotions. Night, when the darkness comes to envelop you. Don't stay outside. Once the snow is thick enough, we can eat it.
You're really telling me this guy isn't secretly comic relief? As I even mentioned, the next layer of comedy unfortunately tacked onto Admiral Zhao. Our Adeptus friend just so happens to be a green character who gets more powerful when he puts on a signature mask. And while that mask may not have a smile, the jokes just write themselves regardless. Kui. So I'm a bit divided about Kui. On one hand, they're a great character, truly fantastic. She's absolutely adorable. Watching her bumble around the boo-boo pharmacy trying to do things never gets old. And her weird emotionless way of speaking and naivety of the most simple things just add to her cute factor. For evidence, I'll refer you to Coca Goat. But on the other hand, Kui seems like one of, if not the most boring character to play. She's a healer who needs to be on field way more than a healer really should be to put in any work. Well, I guess I'll decide my feelings on Kui and I inevitably get them by losing pity trying to get someone else. But I doubt they'll be as positive as I really want them to be. And yes, I know their name is Chi-Chi, but calling her Kui is just way too funny to not do. Zhongli. Zhongli is definitely one of, if not the most powerful character canonically so far. So it makes sense that he'd be busted beyond any and all reasoning gameplay. I'm not sure whose idea it was to make a shield character to be able to heal by having something hit their shield, while also being able to do some clean damage, but they were clearly not thinking too clearly. Apparently you can become nigh invincible with Zhongli in your party, just because of his shield. But there is more to the guy for some reason. Not only can his burst stun enemies dead in their tracks, making them even less of a threat, but he can also completely remove any stone shields they have, and probably more stuff I don't even know about, but simply put, this guy is crazy good. Tartaglia. Tartaglia is definitely one of my favorite characters, character-wise. Not only is he currently the only Fatui playable, which already gives him a huge boost on my liking of him, but he's just fun. The guy's a rogue who never faces clear which side he's on, until he's in the perfect position to get exactly what he wants. Obviously, this makes him super interesting to watch whenever he shows up, especially in the main story. And to go with his unique character, he's got some super unique gameplay as well, being able to effectively switch between 2 weapons, making him a beast at near and far range, no problem. I've gotten a few opportunities to use him, and he's been real fun every time. So when he comes back again, I'll certainly try to add him to my party permanently. Hu Tao. I have essentially nothing to say on Hu Tao. I don't have her, have no interest in her, and I've never met her in any story quests or anything. So instead, I'll use this to point out that there's not a single female character in the game who wears pants. Yet all of them right there wear leggings, short skirts, or short shorts. If you can even call them that at this point. Interesting fact, Mihoyo. Shenhe. I have absolutely no clue what Shenhe does. I did their test run, read all their info, but I still just can't wrap my head around who they are or what they do. They're a cryo something or other, but not a character I have any reason to care about. Yujin. So, you guys know Beto? Well, if you get Beto again, but more complicated than Geo. Yujin has the same count as Beto, but less effective, I'm pretty sure. She also seems to be more of a support-based character, with the numbers that appear when she does her burst. These flags will generate based on the number of guys who hit your burst, I think. And then each flag will boost the damage to your party, I believe. I sound so unsure because all the descriptions for her moves tell you barely anything, and the test run was over before I figured out what I was doing. I think I'll just stick to Beto. Xinyan. So, Xinyan is quite possibly the worst character in the game. Everything that she has, someone else just does better. There's far better shield characters that don't rely on stupid gimmicks to be functional. There's better great sword damage and sub damage characters, and there's better nuke characters. And if all that's not enough for you, there's Toma, who is literally just a better Xinyan in every way. Basically the exact same moveset and element, just better executed. With all that said, I shall eternally stick by Xinyan. I've always been a fan of mid to low tier characters. I always tend to gravitate towards them. And the fact that poor Xinyan is just a straight up worse version of someone else makes me feel sorry for the poor gal, so she could really use some love. Also, I like her personality a lot more than most other people actually. Can't really be a classic rockstar archetype, she's just fun. Even if some parts of her make zero sense. Like somehow she has a southern accent in a land where the only civilizations so far are based on Germany, China, and Japan. While there could be a case for that being a region that's out yet, like Chesnaya, there's no excuse for her having an electric guitar in a world where electric outlets and stuff don't exist. Yanfei. Yanfei is simultaneously my favorite and least favorite character. It all depends on how I'm looking at her. Gameplay wise, she's currently my main. She's got a really similar gameplay, but is a lot of fun and can do a lot of damage. She can create these seals with every basic attack, or get 3 ones with her skill. And then the more of these you have, the more damage her charge attack will do. Incredibly simple but fun and effective. However, on the other side of things, Yanfei is easily my least favorite character in the game. All she ever talks about is the law. In every
Only by adhering to the law can the people solve life's myriad of problems.
single
Civil cases are the ones I dread the most.
piece
Need a cure for insomnia? Let me read you the history of the development of Liyue's legal system.
of
This weather's got me in the mood for reciting some laws.
dialogue.
If you're concerned about what kind of complicated issues you might get tied up in during your travels, your best bet is to bring someone with you who knows and understands the law.
And she never, ever shuts up about it. As you can expect, this makes it absolute torture for the ears whenever she opens her mouth. I'm actually glad she doesn't have a story quest or hangout event yet, because the less time I spend with Yanfei, the better. Also the gameplay, because she's great there, lots of fun. Chongyun. So unlike Hu Tao, I actually have met Chongyun. Problem is, he said about 3 lines in the Kaka event, so I still have nothing to say about him. The only note I have is that I always call him Chongoose because I am not funny. Xingqiu. This idiot. This absolute buffoon. I loathe Xingqiu with each and every fiber of my being. I know I just went on a massive rant about how much I hate Yanfei, but my hatred of her is nothing compared to this moron. I have been deeply scarred by Xingqiu. The year, 2021, obviously. The month, September. A new banner had just been released, the Kokomi one. I don't care on the slides about Kokomi, but I was interested in Rosaria, since at this point I didn't have any cryo character other than Kaya, and she would fit perfectly into a party I was making. So I decided to do some wishing, obviously. First tentpole, official, alright. Weird off banner, but far from terrible, new addition to the cast. But then, I proceeded to get Xingqiu no less than 4 times in a row. And this was mere days after buying him for the Wish Shin shop. I did end up getting Rosaria, but at a great cost to my sanity. But hey, maybe he's a good character, right? Well, my friend, you cannot be more wrong if you thought that. He likes books. That's his entire thing. He likes books. Wowie. Most of his quips are about some fascinating book he read recently, and all of them make me want to just steal his lunch money.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh, but Mr. Starmie, he's actually top tier in gameplay. He's really good. Well, good for him. That doesn't change the fact that I'd sooner toss the guy into an incinerator than listen to another one of his voice lines, or God forbid, get him for a 6th time. Yeah. Beto. Ahoy, SpongeBob, Ippy Beto, the pirate. That means I have to do this thing talking like a pirate. Argar. Or Mr. Krabs? Wait, I swear to you, I just defaulted that for some reason. Anyways, Beto will be a character who I don't have yet, but she seems like quite the fine scallywag. She be having a counter that can absorb an infinite amount of damage to chuck back at the enemy, leading to very large numbers. One of me mates is a Beto main, and he's always talking about how they be a boatload of fun, and they seem like they be a fine addition to the crew. Now I gotta go back to selling Krabby Patties. Argar. Kazuha. I have many problems with Kazuha. Firstly, the guy looks way too similar to Ether. I always get the two of them confused, and it can't really blame me. Same hairstyle, same height, same build, they look near identical, especially if you said Ether to Animo, because then they also use the same element. Second, his name is near identical to Kazuya, the guy from Smash who cameoed in Tekken a couple of times. Thirdly, this guy's be a bit short on dough working for pirates, because boy does he want your money. The lad's constellations turn from a solid character to quite possibly the best in the game. Most of that only comes from the higher tier constellations. So unless you got about 100k Primo Gems on hand and a couple of rabbits feed, you had best be ready to make some microtransactions if you want to use Kazuya Mishima to his full potential. Doma. I talked about Toma's gameplay in the Zinnian section since the two of them are functionally identical. What I didn't talk about is how good of a character Toma is. Being known as the Fixer, he's always willing to lend a helping hand, especially to those who the higher ups won't. He's got a nice playful personality, which fits quite nicely with his morals, it leads to a huge variety of great moments in the main quest, like especially his hot pot. While Toma's the character I'm actually trying to get, mostly because I'm more of a Zinnian fan, he'd still be a great addition due solely to how much I like his character. Yoimiya. Yoimiya feels like Klee light. Main DPS, pyro character, ranged, creates lots of explosions everywhere, and has a lot of fun. Yeah, I enjoyed my brief usage of Yoimiya in her story quest. She feels like a modified version of a few characters I like, not just Klee. Because being the only other pyro bow character, she feels like a better Amber. Yeah, again. And as stated previously, I would use Amber if she was even decent, so that's another win for Yoimiya. Pair that with her being the fun firework girl who's always super energetic and a whole lot of fun to interact with in her story quest. If you got a character who I would happily go for when she's rerun, assuming it's after Klee, of course. Ayaka. Ayaka's yet another character I've only gotten to try through the story quest and other weird means. When I sampled them, they were a lot of fun. This is almost solely due to the absolute power of their burst. It creates a massive snowstorm that deals constant cryo damage and lots of it. Anything that's trapped inside, especially with another damage dealer of a different element, isn't gonna come out. So now to have a reliable cryo DPS, it means Ayaka would be a great addition to my team, but not what I'm really trying for. The other reason you need a cryo DPS is to complete a stupid dungeon where I can't use electro pyro damage, so I could get pyro accessories more easily. So she'd be a cool stepping stone, and a character I'd want to get, but not someone I'm really trying for. Kujo Sara. Sorry, let's see here. Not very fun, gimmicky, but not in a good way, blah blah blah. I could talk for ages though my dislike of Kujo Sara's playstyle, but instead I gotta use this opportunity to talk about those shoes. What is up with them? With the T-shape of them probably being made of solid wood, they just look super uncomfortable. They look more like small stilts than actual shoes. You're really telling me Kujo Sara can run, fight, and even climb cliffs just as easily as any other character with those things on her feet? Now that is quite the impressive feat. Sayu. Sayu seems really gimmicky, stupid, and not very viable. I want him. The little ninja has this weird mechanic of being able to curl up into a ball and roll around at speed of sound. While curled, they deal constant ammo damage, which means they can absorb some other element and just become a massive ball of swirl. Even aside from the incredible roll, Sayu's far from a bad character. She's got a healing burst that can also deal damage, depending on how much health she's at, making it very useful in multiple scenarios. And when it does deal damage, it creates more animo everywhere, meaning more swirl. The potential for stupid jank with this character is just way too high for me not to use them. Oh wait, I don't have them yet. Sayu is certainly my most wanted 4-star at the moment. I like seeing lots of big numbers and really dumb mechanics, and she provides both those plentifully. And if for a second I ever doubt that she's my most wanted 4-star, I just gotta remember they can absorb cryo and roll across water. If that's not enough reason to want a character, I don't know what is. Kokomi. I really do question what MiHoYo's thinking sometimes. Not all the time, mind you, most of the decisions make sense and add cool stuff to the game, but sometimes their decisions are Kokomi. So if you know how Barber works, you know how Kokomi works. I'm not even exaggerating. They basically decided to repackage Barber as a 5-star and make her a new character. Basically the same skill and burst, Hydro, uses tomes, and a lot of healing. They are the same character. I did a small amount of wishing on the Kokomi banner when it came out, but it wasn't for her. I didn't have Rosario when it came around, and so I tried to get her, and oh well, we all know how that went. Goru. The general of the US furry corpse coming out of a point where I wasn't playing the game very much, but I still did his test run and whatnot. Goru is all about mega buffing Geo characters. However, Geo is easily my least favorite element, and I have 2 Geo characters total, neither of which I really use. As such, I highly doubt that Goro would get much, if any, use from me if I got him. Maybe I'd finally get around to using my C5 Ningoing if I got him, but only time and wishes will tell how that goes. Raiden. Raiden is actually the only non-standard 5-star I have, but they are certainly one of the best they could have. The Lord of Lightning is a fantastic character for nearly every role, actually. She can work well as a main DPS due to the crazy amount of numbers her burst can create and how fast it recharges. She can work well as a sub DPS with her skill effectively multiplying her damage, as well as constantly providing electro reactions. And she can even kind of work as support due to the crazy amount of particles she can generate. How like even the most unrelated of characters get their burst faster. A true all-in-one character, and I'm very glad I picked them up on that banner. Itto. Much like Goro, Itto came out when I wasn't playing the game much, so it kinda just flew under my radar. After reading up on him, I don't feel like I missed out on much. He's certainly a Geo greatsword main DPS, but he doesn't really do much to stand out. He may be good, but I don't really care enough to check. Aloy. And finally, because I didn't know what region to group them in, is Aloy. Aloy was weird to get since you had to play the game at a certain time during the promo to get them, and if you missed that, tough stuff. This means they can't get them if you didn't play then, and they have no constellations yet. But are they worth the exclusivity? Not really. Her whole thing is being able to throw exploding grenades to split into smaller grenades and explode, freezing a bunch of people in the process. But the problem is, basically every cryo character simply freezes better. The grenade things take about a year to recharge, and her burst is just a big nuke of freeze, making it impractical when compared to other cryo bursts to freeze multiple times, like Rosaria's. The one good use I have found for her is being able to suck in all the grenades to make them all explode in one area for big damage with Animo's MC skill, but I'd still take any other cryo character in any non-gimmick party. But hey, it's nice that we started in with people who make Traveler Party. But before I wrap up the video, there are a small handful of other characters we want to talk about. These 3 are currently NPCs, though may not stay that way. I just wanted to say something about all of them, so without further ado, Dr. Baizu. From the moment I met in the story, Baizu immediately interested me for one reason: the shiny green thing hanging on his waist. The doc is the only Dendro character we've seen in the game, which is pretty weird considering how many of the other elements we have at least seen. This is obviously what made the guy catch my attention. What tells us the fact that he's just a really good character. He's not the main story for long, but in his brief appearance, he's a really great guy. His interactions with Kui are incredible, and the two play off each other perfectly. And as well being nature and medicinal knowledge make him fun to talk to. Baizu is the only character who would make me stop saving for Klee and instead cash out all my privileges for a variety of reasons. Good character, probably good moveset, and of course, the elusive Dendro. Paimon. Mihoyo must have some secret science team working behind their game development. How come? Well, they must have done a bunch of research, tests, and alchemy to try to design the most irritating character to ever be created. Paimon is your traveling companion throughout your adventure, and boy do I wish they weren't. First things first, Paimon never shuts up. Ever. Anytime you have any conversation with anyone in any story quest or any main story quest, she'll have something to say. I suppose she's meant to be the voice of the traveler since they're a sign-up tag, but I would have much preferred if they just talked instead of bringing the floating voice box with them everywhere. Speaking of voice, I don't think I'd mind Paimon nearly as much if her voice didn't make me want to smash my eardrums with a jackhammer. Her voice is about 3 octaves above what it should be for a person who talks throughout the entire game. It legitimately sounds like the voice I was using for Elise back in my Fate stream, except I was doing that as a joke.
Say what? What's up? What's up? Paimon wants in.
Father, how could you say such a thing? Luckily, the game kinda seems to recognize how annoying Paimon is and uses her as a punching bag a lot. While it doesn't fix Paimon, it does make her a lot more bearable. Though I greatly look forward to the day where you finally get to eat the emergency food. Dainsleif. Dainsleif is hands down my favorite character in the game. He's only been around for the Traveler chapter, but he's mostly what made that my favorite chapter. Dainsleif is a very interesting fellow for a lot of reasons, most importantly of which being his origin and knowledge. Hailing from the forgotten and destroyed land of Conria, Dainsleif seeks to destroy the Abyss Order for once and for all. Now obviously that sparks a lot of questions. What's the deal with Conria? Why does he want to destroy the Abyss Order so much? Hell, what does the Abyss Order even do? And why does this guy not have a vision? All of these questions still go unanswered, but we can get excited for the future of the game, which is essentially what Dainsleif represents to me. The future of the story of Genshin. So many mysteries yet unsolved. So many regions still unexplored. So many foes yet to be vanquished. All of that symbolized by one fantastic, mysterious, and powerful character. Dainsleif. If by any chance he ever becomes playable, I'll absolutely get him. Mostly because he's my favorite character, but also because he doesn't have a vision, and I'd be very interested to see how that changes gameplay. But sadly that probably won't be for about 5 years, so I'll just have to hope more Traveler stories come out so I can see more of my favorite Genshin character. And that's that. That is currently every playable character in Genshin, plus a few extras. Now, obviously, this video is not going to be up to date forever. They can get new updates with new characters all the time, and so this video may even be outdated by the time it comes out. I might make occasional updates to this where I talk about a small handful of new characters, but for the time being, this is everyone. So if you're going to tell me anything in the comments, facts I missed, opinions I'm wrong about, opinions I'm right about, thoughts on the vid, anything really. It's all a nice way of letting me know like the content, as is subscribing. Anyways, I've rambled for long enough, so I'll leave you with your time. I'll probably make more Genshin content in the future, so you have that to look forward to. But until then, I will see you all next time.